Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ultra Life Today. This is a special broadcast today for a few reasons. One is we're entitling this one Deja 2. That's kind of tongue-in-cheek because we recorded this 2 days ago, and through technical challenges, here we are again. So hopefully this will be a bigger and better version of what we did 2 days ago. You know, it's our desire to bring relevant content to you. We do that through interviewing integrative and functional medical practitioners, clinical nutritionists, different doctors that have varying specialties. If you've never looked at our archived stuff, go wherever you like to find podcasts. Simply type in the word Ultra Life as one word, ULTRALIFE, and then the second word today. You can find us on iHeart, Apple, you can find us on YouTube. And today I have, there's a little bit of a twist here because normally Adam and I have someone sandwiched between us. This is Adam Payne, the CEO of Ultra Botanica. I'm Josh Bellew, and today we're going to talk about a topic that I think is critically important when you are a company like we are, and that is what goes on in the supplement industry behind the scenes to create a product that you know has integrity as it relates to expiration dating, as it relates to identity, potency, and purity. What's going on behind the scenes? What kind of regulations are there? We're going to cover something called the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act as well. And then we're going to talk about something called GMP, or Good Manufacturing Practices. So with that, gosh, welcome, Adam. How's it going today?
I feel a little. I'm on the spot today, Josh. We're usually the guys interviewing somebody else.
I know, but you shine when it comes to this stuff, and that's the thing I love. When you and I got together about 8.5 years ago, one of the first, what I would say is iterations of our relationship is we both realize that we love things to be done right. And at every step of the way, for instance, you did something that I think is profound a number of months back. As far as I know, we're probably the only company out there that uses the only organic curcumin in the world in every one of our products that has curcumin in it.
Yeah, that's a kind of a little known fact.
That's a big deal, and it's a very, very expensive product, but we feel that sets the bar for the way we want our customers to have an experience with our products and to know what's in it, where it comes from, and how great it is. So we're trying to set the standard and raise the bar all the time. Now, Adam, you know, when I was with my previous company, we were dealing with different supplement manufacturers, and this dates all the way back to 1999. And back in 1999, it's kind of crazy because you said this when we were recording the other day, but so back in 94, they came up with this thing called the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act. But what most people don't know is what were the standards in place at that time for manufacturing a supplement?
Well, I mean, prior to that act, I'd be really interested in seeing who sponsored that bill way back when, because I think that will tell us a different story.
I wouldn't be surprised if Orrin Hatch out of Utah was part of that as well.
You think so?
Yeah, he was a good guy. And of course, Utah is a hotbed for supplement manufacturing.
Little known fact, it's one of the areas of the country where lots of supplement manufacturers are congregated. We have a little kind of bastion of manufacturers here in Oklahoma City.
And in Dallas, we've got quite a few.
Oh, Dallas, there's quite a few down there. And big metropolitan areas are going to have some supplement manufacturers.
But you were saying prior to
way back when, you know, before the act, anybody could make a nutritional supplement. It was like was considered that, you know, a mom and pop cottage industry, just start making stuff in your garage, putting it together, and sending it out the door. The only regulations that were intact then is nutritional supplements were considered to be food.
Okay.
And prior to the act, all you needed was a license from your local government, from your local state authorities to manufacture food. So like when we first set up, and Oklahoma was unaware of what they needed to do for nutritional supplements, it was a kind of a new thing for them. The inspector came, all he was concerned about was, did we have a hand washing station in the facility? I mean, he was concerned with other stuff.
That blows my mind, though.
He was concerned with other stuff, but we didn't have a hand washing station. And we're like, why do you need a hand washing station? We're gloved.
Right.
We're sterile.
Yeah, looking
he's
semi-hazmated
like, no,
up. Yep.
you need to have a hand washing station. And that was, okay, that was in the regulations. That was kind of my first bitter truth about what it was like to get into a regulated industry. It was the simple fact that we needed a hand washing station.
Right.
And I get it.
And there's this thing called good manufacturing practices. And a little later, what I'm going to do, Adam, is I'm literally going to walk people through what happens when an ingredient arrives here at Ultra Botanica.
Oh, sure.
We're going to walk right through the entire facility.
It's pretty fascinating.
It is really, really cool. So, Adam, wasn't it in maybe they finalized the rules for DSHEA, DSHEA, Dietary Supplement Health Education Act,
it was onerous.
in about 1994. But then when did it actually, did they finally say, wasn't it early 2000s?
Well,
when
they started
look.
to, there were some dates when things were going to be mandatory.
Okay.
And essentially, what was thrown on the backs of all nutritional supplement manufacturers in the country was they needed to adopt a set of rules that were written into code called the Code of Federal Regulations, Chapter 21, and then the section was 211.
Yep.
And so if you want to get a good night's sleep,
absolutely, yeah. Just start reading that. You'll be asleep in about 30 seconds.
It's technical.
It is.
And for most, what happened, Josh, for most of the players, most of the mom and pops, it was just so onerous. I'll give you a fact here. Typically, to set up any kind of GMP system at any new facility, it's an 18-month process.
Right.
Just for 3 people locking themselves away in a room to implement the GMPs. It is an onerous amount of paperwork. You have to have standard operating procedures. You need to have policies. You need to have systems in place that assure that you're following what the rules are in the CFR 21 Part 211. There, Josh, there was no standards. People had their own secret lock on their own sets of SOPs that they were using internally.
Okay.
But the reality is that you had to home brew it at the time. We just happened to come on the scene as God opened the doors for us for a lot of things to happen, and it was at that time I knew some guys out in Triangle Park, North Carolina, that had come up with an electronic version of GMP. And it was all of the standard operating procedures, all of the policies. There's I think my last count is we have 130 standard operating procedures and policies.
And that's actually grown over the years.
Oh, yeah.
Since we started quite a bit.
Yeah, we seem to kind of spontaneously grow another standard operating procedure every couple of months.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work. And so, but it's not just that, because your standard operating procedures need to be tied into how you're manufacturing products. So we had the blessing of being able to work with this group called Pharma Directions at Instant GMP. Back in 2008, we started working with them, but really we implemented our own GMP system that eventually became Ultra Botanica starting in late 2013.
Yeah, exactly. And people probably, to fill in a few little gaps here, Adam Payne has a biotech background. He has a background in inflammatory marker research. He has a background in taking drugs to market, so coming up with novel compounds in the pharmaceutical space, and then taking those things through various levels of clinical research. So there really couldn't be, in my opinion, Adam, a better guy to be sitting at the head of a company that is manufacturing really just barely underneath what would be considered the pharmaceutical standard. And a lot of people also viewing us don't know. We have our own, right now we're kind of buried in what I call the Ultra Botanica bunker deep in the heart of our 25,000 square foot pharma manufacturing facility. And we could do a whole show about the miraculous way God brought us into this.
We should. We should really, I think that would be actually,
we could really actually tell our origin story, couldn't we sometime?
We could act it out. We actually did a kind of a prayer march around this building before we even knew the owners and before we even moved in here. It's a whole real cool story about that.
It is a cool story.
Josh, we were talking about GMP, and for a lot of people, they don't understand why it's so difficult or what it really entails. But really, the DSHEA Act of 1994 set a bar that all nutritional supplement manufacturers had to meet, and it was a bar that we met, and it was a progressive thing. We started really in earnest back in 2014 when we started manufacturing. Ultra Botanica was born in 2015,
Right.
and we moved into a small facility, literally about the size of
less than 400 square feet, I think.
Right, it was like the size of our
Yeah, the
studio here.
studio,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we had a lab bench and a biomedical facility with that was designed for lab work, and we were
Some incredibly specialized equipment
Oh.
that you were blessed with, because as you said to me many times, it's like, Josh, with the patented technology that we invented to allow these polyphenolic compounds and now isoquinolones and even some flavonols to get in the bloodstream at exponential levels, which is what you and your colleagues patented.
right.
You said to me, we couldn't find a facility to do what we wanted to do, so we had to do it ourselves, right?
When we discovered this stuff, my partners at the time at a previous company, House Bioceuticals, HAUS, we were developing topical botanical drugs that were going into a clinical setting. And my partners, when I discovered and just created this new invention, which is now UltraCur, back in 2013, my partners had no desire to get into manufacturing. They were like, let's find somebody else that can deal with that headache.
I actually, when I first met you, I felt the same way until I realized the unique nature and speciality of the process you have to use
Right.
to come up with this liquid protein scaffolding of these ingredients that makes
Well,
them so bioavailable.
We had to make a choice, and it was at that time when I had a whole bunch of technologies. I was developing a technology that cured diabetic foot ulcers, a huge problem, and bed sores. I mean, think about it. Something that's curing and mitigating those things. I thought that was
and
huge.
people don't realize people die of those things.
Oh.
They get staph infections and sepsis, and then
It's-
boom.
It's a death
end of
sentence.
life, yeah.
Anything above a grade 1 bed sore,
And it's
people are-
horrifying pain too.
and it's
So,
disgusting. I mean,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
seeing into the people's bodies, and
Right.
And the same thing with diabetic foot ulcers. I mean, these are going through the foot, and they're causing all sorts of issues for people. So I had that technology.
You also
we had a
the
sepsis.
childhood eczema, right?
Yep,
That
and
was
we
the
were developing.
topical.
Yeah, we had a
Yeah.
child eczema product that was already in the
Strangely,
market.
that was natural. That's what blows my mind.
Oh,
It's
why?
like, wait a
Why
minute.
does that blow your mind?
Well, because back in the day, almost every topical that was really a game changer was a drug.
Oh, it had. Yeah, they were all drugs. And this was, Josh, this was the era of biologics, right? Back in mid 2000s.
Anakinra, when they started introducing some of the first
Humira.
biologics. Yep.
Yep. Anakinra being an IL-1 blocking drug. Not that means anything to our listeners, but there's in the era of
Well, we think you're
biologics,
smart when you throw those things
we
out.
were just learning about how the immune system really worked, right? And here we are, a bunch of goofy guys that have a pedigree in developing drugs in this space, developing laboratory diagnostics in the space of autoimmune diseases. We had in our hands an extract from plants that had been developed in the 1880s, right, and then brought forward through history. It's a long story. We'd have to do a whole story about that.
Exactly.
There's a whole plant compound extraction world out there that's based upon this concept of a spagyric botanical extract, and this actually dates back to alchemy, right? So this is what we were doing at House Bioceuticals, and we were actually getting a drug into market using the homeopathic pharmacopoeia, which is actually
And
it's a drug.
It's so beautiful that you can grandfather certain things in from that. Now, Adam, we're going to be heading
gotta
into
take a
a real
break.
quick break here, but I want to set up what we're going to do. We're going to take you through a tour of Ultra Botanica. Put your thinking cap and your imagination there, and we're going to tell you what happens when an ingredient arrives on our back dock, and we're going to take it all the way through the production process so that you can see what we do and understand how important this is, that there's a standard of these particular supplements that we do. And by the way, we are a biotech company, Adam, and we'll talk about that for a minute on the other side as well. And we we make, I think, almost 20 different supplements in some unique categories. We have inflammatory support. We have nootropic or brain health, cognitive health, which also is a sleep product, interestingly enough. And then we also are doing things in the immune space now that are having profound effects on individuals that are dealing with autoimmune disorders and active cancer. So had to say that. If you want to learn more about that, go to ultratoday.com. We'll see you on the other side of this quick break.
Our mission is to take nature's most beloved botanicals and enhance them with our liquid protein scaffold technology. This helps it reach your cells faster and better. With exponentially enhanced bioavailability, you'll feel better every day. Ultra Botanica, the feel-good curcumin.
Hey, welcome back to Ultra Life Today. I'm Josh Bailey, and I'm getting a chance to hang out with one of my friends, but who's also the CEO of Ultra Botanica, one of the lead inventors of a technology that, quite frankly, is like none other that I have ever seen. And we've done a lot of investigation, like none other I have ever seen, for being able to take certain bioactive plant compounds and get them into the bloodstream, through the digestive tract, into the bloodstream, at elevated levels that are creating transformational results from ingredients like berberine, curcumin, quercetin, EGCG, resveratrol, things that heretofore were very difficult to get in the body. We're talking about GMP, that's good manufacturing practices. We've covered a little bit about this final ruling that took place of the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act that was, really came about in 1994, kind of became a final rule where everybody had to comply sometime, I think, around 2004. And Adam, I didn't even mention this in the last segment, but I had friends that were really awesome manufacturers in this space that, as you said, small mom and pop people that were doing some great things. And, many of them went completely away. They just simply didn't have the manpower, they didn't have the expertise, and they didn't have the finances to be able to make the grade there. It was tough.
Honestly,
it hurt my
Josh,
heart. And a lot of bad people went away, too.
Honestly, if you read just the rules that are in 211, Part 211, it looks like such a huge burden.
Agreed.
If somebody even in earnest starts to try to figure it out themselves, most likely they will fail. You really have to have had experience in either a pharmaceutical GMP environment or a laboratory GMP environment in order to be able to think about, from a 10,000-foot level, how you're going to structure these rules and regulations into your production environment. And if you have, but once you have that kind of that thought process, everything is easy.
Yeah, Adam, I actually know dietary supplement manufacturing houses that literally brought in their leads from the pharmaceutical industry to be able to run their facilities. So
you had to.
So here's a thing that people need to know. You can register a facility with the FDA. Now, Adam and I both know this really means nothing until the FDA comes knocking at your door. When the FDA comes knocking at your door, in my previous company, they tied us up for 6 days, maybe longer. We had to make a bunch of changes to things, which took a few months. That was very difficult. They tied up C-level managers. They tied up quality assurance and quality control people that really it would have been better to have them out on the floor at the time. So it's a big deal. Our facility actually has had an audit from the FDA a few years back. They only spent 2 days here.
It was 2.5 days.
Yeah, okay.
But it's normally, normally these audits are like 5 days, right?
Yeah.
And we had, and that's my hat's off to the folks at Instant GMP who provided our enterprise resource planning software. It really allowed us to shine during that FDA audit. And not only that, Josh, but last year in December, we got third-party certified GMP, which is a huge thing.
This is huge in the industry, and a lot of people haven't even done this.
Well, most companies at our level don't do it until they get to a much larger size.
Yeah, 15, 20 million a year or something like that.
Really, to get your supplements into major retail, you have to get third-party certified. And what third-party certified means is an outside company comes in and independently audits our GMP systems.
Right. Totally objective.
And they give us a score. And you have to have at least, I think, 80% to pass, or maybe 70%. We got a 99 on our last audit, so we really
Wonderful.
shined.
Wonderful.
And it was really my people here, our people here, Josh, really are
we didn't
stellar.
say that when we were recording before. People, we have the most amazing team of individuals here that work together. They have beautiful hearts. They know they're helping people with the products we do. They go above and beyond. They continue to grow in their skill sets as well as we implement new things. So we just want to say thank you, Team Ultra Botanica. You're so awesome. Now, Adam, here we go, because we've got just enough time to do
Yeah,
this.
let's walk through it.
So we have a truck come in. We unload a few hundred pounds and kilos of materials.
It starts even before then, Josh.
That's true. That's right.
So,
we've got an ordering situation, and
well,
we have initial C of A's.
We have, let's say, we have a product we want to produce.
Right.
And then, in order to make a product, we need to first qualify the sources of the ingredients. So we actually have an audit. We audit our suppliers. So if a supplier wants to sell to us, we actually go into their GMP systems to qualify whether they are following the GMPs. We look at any third-party certifications they might have. We look at the structure of their GMP, and we grade them. We'll give them an A, a B, a C, D, E, or F, and those grades essentially tells us whether we can do business with them.
Right. Exactly.
And then what kind of testing we have to do on the materials that they come in. So even before the product even hits our loading dock, we send out a requisition through our system that tells the guys that manufacture the ingredient what it is exactly that they need to send to us, what are the physical characteristics of that material, and then when it hits our loading dock, it's already in a list.
Yeah, Adam, people need to understand that when we get a certificate of analysis that's presented to us from an ingredient manufacturer, we cannot take that at face value.
No, we don't.
We have to, and we'll get there, because now we're kind of basically at that place where we can say, okay, they've passed the muster. We're going to go ahead and source a particular material from this group. Now it's actually hit our loading bay, our loading dock out in the back. It's come into the facility. What happens very first, Adam? Because people would be kind of astonished.
So our receiving people, they go into that list, and if it's not there, it's a huge problem. But because we can only receive stuff that's already been approved and in the list. If it's in the list, we receive it, and it goes into a status automatically called quarantine.
Right.
And quarantine status, there's only it means that nobody can use it. It's in our facility, but you can't touch it yet. The only people that have the authority to change the status of a material is our quality assurance department. There's two people, and I'm kind of the third backup if I have to, and I've only had to do it once in the last 2 years when the other quality assurance people are out. And what the QA people do is they'll get a sample of the material, they'll look at all of the C of A's in the documents, and they will at least run a chromatograph identity test on the material to make sure that material is indeed what it says it is.
And for a second, that means that a outside company has developed a method to understand that material really is that material.
Yeah.
And then those set of standards are used by our quality assurance as well,
We've actually developed our own methods for identity.
We are connected with some cool people.
Yeah,
right?
we connect with outside resources, but honestly, we've developed our own methods for every single material that we have here.
I love it.
And we have identity assays that give us 100% assurance that what we're receiving is indeed that material. And we have two systems that we use. We have an FTIR, which is a Fourier transferred infrared chromatograph system, which is so cool. And that gives us a fingerprint of identity. And then we have something called a high-pressure liquid chromatography system that actually allows us to do not only identity, but potency, which is the other arm of all the requirements that the FDA puts on.
But it doesn't stop there, because we've got a purity issue too, right? Before we're going to be taking it through our production process, we need to know if there's any microbiological beasties, right?
Right, and most of the companies that send us materials, they'll already have a third-party microbiology report attached to it. But we actually, before we send out any product to the marketplace, any product, we actually send a sample of that product to a third-party independent lab, and they run microbiology on it. And it's not just bacteria. We look at mold, we look at fungus, we look at aerobic bacteria, anaerobic
Heavy
bacteria.
metals?
We look at heavy metal contamination. We look at pesticide contamination.
Right.
So
Big
all of these things are tested. A lot of people, there's a lot of squawk out there in the nutritional supplement space about curcumin, turmeric. A lot of the turmeric out there is contaminated by lead and heavy metals and pesticides.
Is the rumor I heard true that there's actually some synthetic forms of curcumin now that are being produced in Asia?
The unfortunate reality is that if you're buying a curcumin product and it's less than $20, it's probably synthetic curcumin from China.
That is so
even
sad.
so it's not even extracted curcumin from the real turmeric root, and there's can be all sorts of byproducts in there that are not healthy for the human body. There's so many there are literally a dozen shenanigans that nutritional supplement companies pull on the turmeric products that are out in the marketplace. 90% of the stuff that's on the shelf is absolutely worthless.
Okay, so a quick recap.
But we didn't finish this here.
Well,
so
right.
so when it comes into our facility, it gets into a quarantine status. Our quality assurance people, they go and they get a sample of the material, they review all the documents, they test it for identity. They might test it for microbiology if it wasn't done or if the company requires us to do
potency.
that. And potency. And once it's been tested, then the quality assurance people, the only people that have the authority to do so, change the status of the product from quarantine to approved. And physically, the product actually will move from the quarantine space to an approved space. It gets a different sticker. Once it's approved, then our people here in the facility can use it. And let me emphasize one thing here. When somebody's using a material in our facility, they're actually physically scanning that barcode that's on the product. And that's a third level of compliance.
It allows
and
us
safety.
to track everything through the instant GMP
Right.
system,
So
right?
if they scan something and it's still in quarantine, the system won't let them use it or touch it, or if it's been rejected. And so when we have materials that are coming through, and also it assures that they're using the right material, because sometimes it looks like it's what it is, but it's might have been put in the wrong box or the wrong label. And it's by scanning what's on the bag and on the box, we get 100% assurance.
Beautiful.
But that's not it, because at each intermediate stage, Josh, we actually test for identity, and in some cases, test for potency along the way. I'm banging my head here.
That's okay. You're excited.
Yeah, I am. And so like when we go into mixing, when we mix the ingredients together, we'll actually test for potency across multiple spots to make sure we have uniformity. We'll test for identity to make sure that that profile of that product has the right ingredients in it. And if the identity is wrong, somebody screwed up. We put the wrong ingredient in there somehow. And that's never happened, thank God. And finally, when we get to at each stage, Josh, from going into mixing, we do identity and potency. When it goes into the capsules, we'll do identity and sometimes potency. And finally, before it even the capsule goes into the bottle, there's one last quality check. Our quality assurance department, even though the barrel where those capsules are says that this is, let's say, UltraCur on it. Wow, I got banging my head again. We don't just take that at face value, Josh. Because sometimes, somebody puts the wrong bag in the barrel because who knows what happens. We actually take the capsule out of that bag before it goes into bottling, and we will do one final identity test on that product just to be 100% assured that the product that's going into that bottle is indeed that product.
And then there's also that final where you send off several capsules that are randomly chosen off for microbiological.
Oh yeah, and that's our release assay.
Yeah.
So once it's all done, we actually send out a sample to to microbiology, and we get a proof that the product is clean and ready to be delivered to the marketplace.
Well, this is Ultra Life Today. You've been listening to me having the pleasure of interviewing Adam Payne, the CEO of Ultra Botanica, one of the lead inventors of this unique technology that we employ called liquid protein scaffolding, a powerful way to be able to get certain classes of bioactive plant compounds into the bloodstream through the digestive tract, and something that hits the bloodstream at elevated levels, allowing you to actually feel these products. You can learn more at ultratoday.com. If you like what we're doing, It's real simple. Ultra Life Today. Go where you love podcasts. We have 85 episodes, I believe, out there with some cutting edge key opinion leader doctors that you can share with your friends and loved ones. We're seeing those views grow now, which is so lovely. So thank you for liking what we do, sharing with friends. Give us a great rating. Help us beat that big tech algorithm that's out there. You've been listening to Ultra Life Today with me, Josh Bellew.
I'm Adam Payne. Thanks for joining us and bearing with us as we tell a little bit of our story.
Thanks, brother.